Hey, what's up everyone? Kevin here. In this video, I want to share with you 10 tips for snowboarding through the trees. Riding through the trees can definitely be a challenge, so hopefully with these tips, you'll have more success riding through the trees and be safer as you do it. The first tip is to be aware of tree wells. So tree wells are the most dangerous thing about riding in the trees. In these clips, I'm riding in Whistler, BC, Canada, where tree wells are very common. And the way that tree wells are formed is the snow gets stuck up in the tree so that there's a hollow hole that forms at the base of the tree, and the danger is falling into it and getting stuck. So the best way to avoid this is to ride trees that you're comfortable with, where you're not gonna be falling towards the trees very likely, but also to be riding with friends and keeping an eye on your friends or having somebody watch you so that if something does happen, you have somebody there to come and help you. As another safety precaution, you could also ride with a radio, and just in case somebody goes missing, you have that radio communication. Tree wells are very dangerous, so ride at a pace you're comfortable with. If you do fall towards one, just do your best to get away from it, and then also ride with friends and keep an eye on each other. The second tip is to know your exits or know where the trees lead to. In these clips, I'm riding at Mount Baker, and I'm following two friends who I trust and who know the mountain very well. If I was snowboarding here alone or taking a group through, I definitely wouldn't be taking the chance riding into trees that I didn't know exactly where they led to. So it's always a good idea to either have the knowledge yourself or to be following somebody that you trust. I've never personally been lost in the trees, but I have heard stories of people getting stuck on the mountain overnight or even worse, so it's really important to know exactly where those trees lead. The third tip is to always ride in a group or with at least one other person. In these clips, I'm riding at Stevens Pass, Washington, and riding with a group of snowboarders. Together, we just kept each other more safe, just in case of something happening like a tree well or the possibility of even running into a tree. And by riding with other snowboarders, we actually were able to discover more of the mountain because we had some experienced riders showing us where to go. So the benefits of riding in a group is you're keeping each other safe, but you're also able to discover new terrain. The next tip is to always look between the trees. There's that natural saying that you go towards what you look at. So by looking in between the trees, it's just naturally gonna help you to steer your board in between. And if you look 2 or 3 gaps ahead, you're gonna be able to know how much speed to take, where to make your turns. In these clips, I'm riding in Whistler, BC with my friend Andreas, and I'm actually pretty focused on him and where he's going. And by seeing the route that he's taking, it's helping me to navigate the trees as well. The fifth tip is to do quick turns through the trees, and lots of them. You're gonna find that once you're snowboarding in the trees, you're doing 2 or 3 times more turns than you naturally would be on a groomed run. That's because there's just more obstacles to avoid and more places where you need to control your speed. In these clips, I'm snowboarding at Homewood Resort in Lake Tahoe, and there's certain sections of these trees that were pretty dense. So by doing quick turns, I was able to steer away from the dense areas and towards the more open sections where I could maintain my speed and just create that flow through the trees. Tip number 6 is to try to create an even balance between your heel turns and your toe turns. One of the biggest problems, I think, in riding trees is that you end up getting hung up on your heel edge or the heel turn. And that's because on your heels, you're kind of more comfortable, you can see everything below you, and it's the easier of the 2 edges typically to stop on. But the problem with this is that it can really burn out your legs. In these clips, I'm riding at Mount Schweitzer in Idaho, where the trees are pretty mellow. So these style of trees are great for creating that rhythm because you have more space and really focusing on slowing yourself down just as much on your toe turn as you do on your heel turn. So if you find yourself in trees that are too thick and tight and you're always on your heels, just try to take it back to some more mellow trees where you can create that rhythm and even out the heels and toes. Tip number 7 is to think about using your knees and shoulders to turn better through the trees. Here I'm snowboarding in Fernie, BC, Canada, where the trees were pretty varied from wide open trees to really tight and technical ones. And by using my knees, I was able to make the really quick turns with my board, thinking about using my front knee especially to open it up for the heel turn and then close it for the toe turn. And the knees were really great for those quick turns. And then for bigger turns in more open areas, I think about my front shoulder and really opening up to make a big heel turn, and then closing my front shoulder down for the toe turn. And by using your knees and shoulders together like this, you're gonna be able to really make dynamic turns, whether it's big open ones or quick and tight ones. The more you can use each shoulder and each knee independently to steer, the better and more dynamic your turns will be through the trees. The next tip is to use your knees to absorb any bumps or undulations in the snow. And these clips I'm riding in Whistler, BC, Canada in some pretty early season conditions. And in the early seasons, there's a lot of rocks and logs just underneath the snow. So being able to anticipate a bump by absorbing it with your knee is really gonna help you to keep your snowboard in contact with the snow, absorb all that pressure, and just keep your flow going through the trees. Another obstacle that can come up is a dip in the snow, and if you can anticipate this and absorb it with your knees, it's gonna help you to avoid getting stuck and just continue on with your run through the trees. Another safety tip is to have a call or a sound that you can make that's unique to you, something that you can shout out as you ride, or if you lose sight of your group, something that you can shout out to let everyone know where you're at so that you can regroup. So if you guys don't know Andreas's call, Chris, do you have a unique call? Nice, that's a good one.
How about you, Kevin? What do you got?
I'm working on a new.
What do you got?
I'm working on a new call. David Jones used to make fun of me because I couldn't do this, but if I practice it enough in the trees, I'm gonna show him up.
Ooh, that was a good one. That one had an echo.
The final tip is to choose good snow conditions for riding in the trees. In these clips, I'm riding in Whistler, BC, underneath the peak-to-peak gondola. And when the snow conditions are good, this is one of my favorite runs in the world. It's steep and technical, and in these clips, I think there's about 40 centimeters of powder, so you can just haul down and you're dropping from pillow to pillow. But when the snow conditions are bad, this run's an absolute nightmare. It's long, it's hard on your legs, and it's really defeating. So by choosing good snow conditions, it's just gonna encourage you to ride more trees, to have more fun, and it's also gonna keep you more safe. Those are my 10 tips for riding in the trees. If you have any questions or if I missed something, it'd be great to hear from you down in the comments. I'll also put links to my 3 favorite snowboards for riding in the trees down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe out there riding in the trees, and I'll see you in the next video soon.